So guys, we can get started. First of all, good morning and thank you everyone for joining in today. Before we get started, I like to kind of clarify a few things, housekeeping items. Number one is that we are recording this webinar. So just in case if any of your team member, colleague uh, were not able to make it for whatever reasons, we will be sharing the recording with them. Second thing is that feel free to leave your questions in the chat itself. And we do have some people from our team who will be kind of answering your questions as well. All right. And then I'll also briefly describe the purpose of today's webinar. So as you guys would know that we have just launched Xenett 2.0 and we wanted to touch base on those changes because I know that it has also brought in some changes in the workflow as well. So we wanted to touch base on that. At the same time, we also want to touch base on what are the new features that we have added. All right. I'm gonna start sharing my screen and then I'm gonna walk you through the changes. All right. So number one thing is that we have actually added some new modules and one of them is close mode, right? So to start with that is that we have actually revamped the entire close process in Xenett. So first I'll kind of explain you guys how the whole close used to happen before, right? So speed mode is what was driving the entire close process before. So what used to happen is that you would come here, you would select the review period, then you would start the review process, and then one by one you would go through each of these review points, you would sign off them, and then eventually when you are done signing them off, you would end the process, you would end the close process, right? So basically speed mode was the main module that was driving the entire close process before, right? But now we have added a new module called close mode, right? And I'll explain you what that is and what changes does it bring with this new module, right? So before that, let me just first of all touch base on some of the new things that we have brought in the speed mode. Number one, it's a small thing, but we kind of recategorize or regroup the speed mode review points. So transactional fixes, to close review points, cleanup items, and the custom review points. Okay. Now these categories are default right now. You cannot change anything with that, but very soon we will also let you customize it as per your own ways, right? So that's number one, small, but just thought to mention that anyways. Second thing is that we introduce this block system. So what this block means is that previously, let's say when you were into, let's say, uncategorized transactions, you used to look at long list of transactions, right? And then for the similar transactions of the same vendor, you were selecting them individually, and then using the bulk action you would reclassify it. But now we kind of made it little simpler where the similar transactions are the transactions of the same vendor are now showing up as a block, right? So it's like in most cases, if those expenses are going to one account, you can quickly resolve it. So just to give you an example, let's say if I have some transactions here for this vendor that I generally put them to office expenses, I don't have to do one by one or I don't have to do multi-select and then reclassify it. Instead, I can just say that, hey, for this vendor, I'm going to put them to office expenses and that's it. So whether it's two transactions or 20 transactions, it will be pretty smooth. Excuse me, because now you're resolving the entire block and that way it will be quite faster to resolve transactions in speed mode, right? So that's a block. You still have a ways to edit independent transactions. Like if you say that, hey, I want to particularly reclassify this transactions to this account, but then this transactions to some other account, you can also do it. Just click here and then change it from whatever account that you like. So that feature is still there. Another thing is that even the bulk panel, the bulk reclassify. So if at all you wanted to select one transaction from here, one transaction from here, one transaction from here, and you want to reclassify these transactions to some separate account, you will still be able to do that, right? So those functionality are still there. It's just that with this block, it will be quite easier to reclassify those transactions easily. So that's another change that we have brought. One small change that we have also done is that we used to call like a sign of transaction before, but now we are going to call as mark as reviewed, right? Because sign off, that terminology, we're going to use it for something else which I'll just talk about in few minutes. But what we're going to do is that, so mark as reviewed, those of you who don't know, generally when Xenett suggests you that, hey, this transaction require some action, but but if you feel that this transaction is all fine and it does not require any action, then all you do is mark as reviewed, which means you're telling Xenett that it's all fine and it's going to be hidden from this list, right? So it's just a small change in the terminology. So instead of calling it sign of transaction, we are not now going to call it mark as reviewed. Okay, so that's another change that we have done. Um, um, we have also changed, I think, UI perspective. We also improved some of the buttons and everything, but those are like not that huge thing. But we try to be more intuitive with the designs as such, right? The custom review points, we used to have an add button here, right? But now what you're gonna do, you're gonna click on it and you can start building, you can start adding your criterias and you can start creating your custom review points, right? So it's very simple. Once you are done adding your criterias, you click here, save this search, give it a name, and that's it. It will be then added to this custom review point section. Okay. Another thing that we have changed is the delete client file. So now if you want to, let's say, delete any particular client file, all you have to do is once you are into the client, then you click on this setting icon here and then click on client info and then delete the client file from here, right? So with that said, we have also revamped the entire setting options, right? So previously we had three different settings, one for the practice, second for the client, and third for your own self also, right? But now what's gonna happen, excuse me, is that wherever you are, so if you are on the client and then when you click on client setting, so this particular, the middle section will keep changing depending upon the client that you are on. The first section will always be for your practice and the last section will always be for you, right? But let's say if I'm into the different client, then this second section will keep changing. So basically this is a universal button setting that you can also use. So that's another change that we have brought in, right? So now with the speed mode, the start of the close and the end of the close and the sign off process has now been changed to the close mode, right? And I'll also explain you the whole logic as to why we have introduced this close mode as such, right? So we figured after talking to lot many of you and from our own experience is that, see, the close process previously was limited to the speed mode review points only. Okay, but it's not like, I mean, like you end up doing so many other activities in the close. For example, let's say you have some different tasks like recording prepaid entries or recording accruals entries or reconciling loan account, or let's say recording some month end journal and other entries, right? So previously you did not have any ways to create those tasks in here, right? So what we are now doing is that with this close mode in place, it allows you to create all of your other tasks as well in here. So the entire close process, close mode, is now driven through closing to-dos. So whatever that you see, these are nothing but your closing to-dos, right? So this closing to-dos are the tasks that you perform as a part of your close process, and then you close and you sign off those tasks, right? So this is where it also, by default, what we have done is that we have created all the same task, same as speed mode in here, so you don't have to create them manually, right? But now you can actually build further. So let's say, for example, if you wanted to add some more tasks from your end, you can click on this plus icon and you can click on add closing to-dos and you can start creating them. Right? So let's say if I wanted to add some more tasks like, hey, I wanted to record some inventory adjustment in my month end. So you can create that task as well, right? The best part about this is that this entire thing can be structured however you like. Right now, we just use the same grouping as speed mode, like transactional fixes, close review points, custom review points, but then it can be entirely customized, right? So for that, I would like to show you, because this is what you would be seeing right now if you log into your existing client, but then you can obviously change it however you like. So one of the client that I configured for my own purpose, I'll kind of quickly show you how that looks like, right? So what I did was that I kind of introduced the grouping in form of balance sheet, because that is how I look at it personally. So if I'm looking at my balance sheet, the very first sections, that is cash and bank accounts. So I would like to see all my cash and bank related tasks at one place, right? So one of them I put them here is that review unclear transactions, right? And with all this task, you can also now associate your speed mode review points as well. Okay. So in order for you to perform that task, if there is something that you need to check in speed mode, you don't have to go to speed mode and find and look for that point. Instead, you can link that speed mode review point with this particular task. So for example, if I edit this one, you can see that there is a review point I have linked, that is unreconciled entries. Because now if I'm working on this task, I click on 15 here, I can see all those transactions right here, and then I can take appropriate action, and that's it, I'm done. I don't need to go to QuickBooks to look for those unclear transactions. I don't need to go to speed mode to look at those unclear transactions, right? It's just right here with the task. Another thing that I have done is that now you can also incorporate the review checklist, right? Excuse me. So, for example, the task says review unclear transactions, but then while doing this task, I need to look at or I need to follow certain checklist. So one of the checklists that I follow is that, hey, make sure there are no checks uncleared for more than 90 days or 180 days. I mean, you can decide however you like. And then I created another checkpoint like, hey, look for any transfer entries, deposits, or expense transactions, because those transactions should not stay unclear generally, right? So if I have created this checklist here, I don't have to rely on my memory. I don't have to refer to any Word document or any external document for that reason. And instead, it is helping me personally, as well as it's gonna help the person, one of my staff who is actually working on this client, because they exactly know what to check, right? So that's another thing that you can do with this. So when you click on edit icon, you can build your checklist here, right? It's a one-time thing. Once you create it, it's gonna recur every month, right? So that's another thing that you can do here. Um, then with each task, you now have an option to assign the preparer and reviewer as well. It's not compulsory as such, but we have kind of seen that some of you may just have one person doing everything, but then some of you may have also different people, like one person doing the primary review, and then you got another person doing the secondary review as well, right? So it's also an option available now. So for example, in this case, when you click on edit, you can say that, hey, I want this person to be preparer and I want this person to be reviewer, right? And you can also have more than one preparer or more than one reviewer as well. It all depends. Okay. So that's another thing that you can do. We also have a field for description wherein you can start. I mean, you can put in the step by step guide, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 steps, right? So if at all there is a task that you're performing has some sort of steps involved, you can also put it here, right? So that way, once you put it, I'll kind of show you some example. Let's say for review inventory, I put some notes here. So I don't need to again go through or remember, kind of try to remember anything. It's just right there, and it gets very handy, right? So that's another thing that you can do. And by the way, guys, I don't want to overwhelm anything. So it's like it's not something that you have to use it like that way. I'm just giving you guys that what all you can do with Xenett now. Okay. If you just want to be like straightforward and how you guys were following it, I think this is a good example I was just showing you before, where all we did was it's just same as your speed mode review points. It's the same thing, right? It's just that the sign off will happen here because these are the closing to dos which will then require to be sign off, right? So you can also have a as simple as close process like this, but then for someone who really have a comprehensive close process can actually build however they like. Okay, so that's that. Now, a few more things I wanted to cover here is that once you are into the close mode, okay, the start of the close will happen from here, right? And now you can also have multiple closes running, and then you can quickly switch between the close from here as well, right? So in this particular case, let's say if I wanted to switch to Jan, I can also switch from there. Okay. If I wanted to start a new close, I can do it from here, right? And see, all of your closing tasks are recurring. So it's like when you start the next close, those tasks will show up automatically, right? So then all you have to do is start performing those tasks and click on sign off, right? That's it. And as you sign off, let's say you sign off this one, let's say you sign off this one, as you would see, this progress percentage here increases. So eventually, when you are done signing them, all of them, this will eventually reach to 100%, right? That means that you kind of perform all of your tasks, and then eventually here you can click on your status and say finalize. So that is how you start the close process. That is how you sign off each of your closing to-dos, and that is how eventually you will change your close process to finalize. In fact, while we are talking about this, I would also like to tell you that previously we just have two options. You start and you end the close process, right? There wasn't any in between stage that you can actually set for your close. But now you can actually customize this, right? So if, like there are different statuses that I have created so that I can exactly know what is the status, what is the stage of my close process as such, right? So that way you can also do it. Uh, so that's another thing. Along with creating the task, we also have a feature called GL So this is something I was doing personally when I was doing accounting few years back, where we used to like create the reconciliation or working papers for every single balance sheet account, right? So what we used to do is that, let's say I kind of create added a GL here. So there is a GL. It's the same as closing to do. There is no change as such with that. It's just that with GL you it is now pulling the GL balance here, and then here you can associate or you can link your working files as well, right? So in this particular case, I can say I can manually write, let's say if I'm a preparer, I can manually write this amount because I'm kind of telling that, hey, I have reconciled this bank account. And then at the same time, I can also attach any sort of working files as well, right? Just like this, and I can save it. So that way, basically it's gonna calculate the difference as zero, and then I can also put some notes here that I have. I mean, it could be any note. The balance is quite low because we, so if at all I have observed something while reviewing this account, I can also put some review note, right? So that way, all of those things that we do here also show up on the balance sheet as well, right? So if I switch to balance sheet for a second, I would like to show you that imagine now me being a reviewer or me being a manager, right? I may not literally go through every single of this task and find out the comments and everything. What I would do, like, hey, I'm gonna go to the balance sheet and I can clearly see what is going on here, right? So I can see the review notes if at all there is anything put by my staff. I can also see any working files that was attached. So I don't have to ask my staff that, hey, how did you come up with this balance? At the same time, we have also added a couple of more features here where you can start asking questions to your team members. Like while reviewing this account, you come across a question for your staff, you click here, you can say that, hey Hardik, I got some questions for you, right? So that way you can also basically ask questions for your staff as well, right? You don't need to go to your Teams or Slack or whatever other messenger. You can definitely do it, but the problem with that is that at times things get lost because it's not that easy to keep track of it. So because now you can link your questions here, it's very handy. And at the same time, imagine if there were 10 of such questions that you ask, all of those questions will appear here, right? On one single page, right? So that way you will not have to kind of go to all over the place to look for your questions as well, right? So that is also another feature that we have added where you can actually ask your team questions internally. Okay. All right, so coming back to the close, so it's a place where the entire close is now gonna happen, right? And as I mentioned, you guys can actually build the close however you like. In fact, we also have a templates that you can manage. So it's like, let's say, I mean, this is how I would suggest you guys to set it up. When you go to setting, when you go to templates, there is a close here, and here you can manage your templates, right? So if there is some sort of process or checklist or task that you guys follow at your firm level, you can create them here, and then once you're done creating them, you should be able to import it from here. So what I in this particular case, it's already imported, but imagine if this was blank and if you had to import it, click on these three dots, click on import from template, select the template, and then click on import template, and it will be imported as well. Okay, so that's a way. I mean, you have two choices. One is that you can uh, start creating from the scratch, like literally adding it manually up to every single client, which I would not do it. Would just go with the templates and then we'll import it. Okay. We also have a recurrence list here. So basically, this is nothing but list of all of your closing task and the description about that, right? So you exactly know these are the tasks that you can that are going to reoccur. And with this reoccurrence, I just wanted to touch base on this is that you can also set the custom recurrence. So if at all you guys have some sort of task that are recurring, let's say every close period, you can set it up this way. If there are any sort of task that are just for the year end month, you can do it that way. If there are tasks that are, let's say, on quarterly basis that you would like to do, click on custom, and then you could say I want this task to be done on March, June, September, and December, right? So this is also quite flexible that you can also build it, right? So that is how you can manage that. I think for the close mode, I have covered everything. I'll quickly check the uh, chat real quick. Just want to make sure there is nothing as such. Yeah, I think Vishal has been responding, so we are fine. All right, so that's a closed mode, guys. These are the quick filters that you can also play around here. And then when you're done, I think all you do, just click on finalize, and that is it, right? All of your close history will now show up here. So if at all, like you can see what's the thing with Jen and all of your close here, and then you can find out from here. If you delete any of the close, if you started any of the close mistakenly, and then if you want to delete any of it, you can do it from the close history, and then you can simply delete it as well. Okay, so that's how the close mode works. Okay, all right, so now I also wanted to touch base on some of the changes that we have done with the client portal as well. So those of you are who were actually using it, we also added some more features here. One of them is a draft. So previously, the thing is that if you, I mean, whenever you ask any questions, it will directly publish on client portal. Okay, but now we have a draft feature where even before publishing any questions to client, you have an option to save it internally, and then someone from your team can publish it, right? So when you, and this is a plus sign that we introduce universally, where all the quick actions will show up, right? So in this case, I have a ask question here. I can type in the questions, and then here I'm going to click on save as draft, and those questions will be saved as draft, right? So this is something, this is generally helpful where if there are junior people working on a client, and then if me being a manager, I wanted to make sure that I want to review those questions first, even before it goes to client. I would ask them to save them as draft, and then I'm going to click on publish, so that that way those questions will be published on a client side, right? So that's one feature that we have added here. Along with changes with the UI a little bit, we have also introduced a way for your client to send you the request, right? So previously, only you were able to send questions to the client, but now your clients, when they log into the portal, they will also have a way to send you guys a request as well, right? And then all of your client requests will show up here, right? Request from client. And when you are done responding them, it will move from request from client to your responses. Okay, so that's that. Another thing that we also have with client portal especially is that you can now specifically assign questions to the specific client user. What I mean by that is that generally, that if you have different client users using credit cards, many of the businesses give them a credit card, right? So it's like if there is a user A who uses the credit card, you want to ask those credit card questions, especially the uncategorized questions, to that user only. No point of showing those questions to all other users as well, right? So if at all that is the case, you will be able to assign the specific questions to specific users as well, right? So only that user will now be able to see those questions. That's another feature that we have added. There are many other things that are on roadmap, especially with the questions module, right? But these are some of the quick updates that I wanted to cover with the client portal as such. Okay, all right. Okay, one more thing. I think, yes, Glenn, you just reminded me. I'll also cover this. Is that previously, you could only add clients which were QuickBooks or Zero, but now you, if it's not accounting software like specific, if at all there is a QuickBooks desktop client or Sage Intacct client or Zoho Books or whatever, you can click on Add Client, click on other accounting software, and then you can also add. Obviously, that particular client will not have any accounting data, but you can still use the close mode. You can still use the to do module, which I'm going to touch base in few minutes, right? You can also use client portal, but it is limited to the transactional questions, right? So yes, you will be able to manage other than your QuickBooks and Zero clients as well. So to-do module is our new addition as well, where you can manage your routine task. And this is something, these are the tasks that these are not specific to the close, right? So close, the way I differentiate these two tasks are that close is something that you, it happens, it starts at a particular time frame, and then eventually it ends it, right? So that is how all the closing tasks will be separated into the close mode, versus these to do's are more of your routine task or more of your one time task, which are not directly associated with the close as such, right? So the task like payroll processing or recording transactions from bank feed, or let's say payroll entries or preparing sales tax return, right? Things like this, you can actually manage it here. Similarly, if you are onboarding a client and if there are any specific tasks for that, you can manage it here. If you are cleaning up something, or if you are migrating from one accounting software to another, all those tasks can be managed here as well, right? So this is where you can use to do. So to do is just like any other task management system, where there's assignee, recurrence, priority, and tags and subtask and checklist. I mean, just like any other app that we have here as well, right? And then there are some quick filters that you can also use here, right? um, um, like you can also filter it further. There's so many other features similar to close mode. We also have a templates here, right? So for example, let's say if you go to do setting here, sorry, templates, and then we also have some templates here, right? So if there are certain sets of tasks that you generally do for all of your clients, you can create the templates here, and then when you go to that particular client, you should be able to import as well. Okay, so that's something that you can also do it real quick. All right, so if I am going to into to do, if I wanted to, if I click here, and then if I click on import template, I should be able to import from template as well. Okay, so that's another thing that you can do with that as well. All right, so that's that. If I go back to practice dashboard, we have also added some more information here. So now you can see the status of all the different clauses, right? So for example, this is the Fantastic Four, and then you can see the progress of each clause as such, right? By default, we don't show the the close that are finalized. We hide it from here, but if you want to see them back, click on filter by, and then here you just select on finalized, and you will be able to find them here as well. Okay. We just have been getting requests that they like from our customers that they wanted a column. There used to be a column called last close period. So that's something we're gonna bring it back, because a lot of people have requested it. Was actually a useful information. So you'll be very soon be able to see the last finalized period here as well. All right. So that's that. You can also create some views. So for example, if you just wanted to see all the clients with the overdue closes, you can do that as well. I mean, you can just click on this view. You can say that overdue closes, and then here you can set some filters and then save it, right? So only the clients with those filters will then show up. So it's a quick way to look at your client list. Okay. So that's another thing that we have introduced. Let me just quickly see if I'm not missing anything to cover. Just a second. Yeah, I think close mode, speed mode is fine. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it. I'll kind of quickly look at the chat and just want to make sure that one more thing, guys, is that we have started working with many of our customers to help them set it up, because there we had lot of customers who were literally following the comprehensive close, and we are actually helping them setting it up. So if at all you guys have like, if you guys need any help with setting it up, feel free to reach out to us, and we'll be more than happy to even set up everything for you, including setting up templates, training, and everything. All right. So, just kind of looking at real quick.
Hardik, two things.
Yeah.
Uh, One is how to create the views on practice dashboard,
Mhm.
and another is how to invite the client users. Can you just quickly show this?
Sure, absolutely. So, as far as the creating views on client list, I was just mentioning is that, so by default, it's all clients, but if you wanted to see a certain specific clients with certain filters, you now have an option to create the view and also save it. So when you click on plus sign, it's going to ask you for the view. Let's say I'm going to call it specific manager clients, right? I'm going to call, I just wanted to see manager A's client, and then I can save it, and then here I can just select that particular manager only. So whenever I click here, it will only show up me, it will only show me for that manager's client only. So these are the different filters that you can apply. So next time when you come, it's pretty handy, right? So this is how the views work. And then as far as the client users is concerned, so the way it's gonna be, like, you need to be in that client first. So if I go to the client, let's say if I go to this client and then I wanted to invite the client, all the settings, click on setting and you will find all the settings here. Click on client portal here and then you will see an option to start inviting your users as well. Okay, so this is how your client users will be invited. And then even with the client portal, there are other settings like you can set up your custom branding here. You can like by default, they it's hosted on this domain, which is portal.xenett.com. But if at all you want to change to something else like portal.yourowncompany.com, yourdomain.com, you can also set it up that way. And then there are emails going out to the client as well. That is something you can also customize here, right? So it's like this is the email that goes out when you invite your client user. And if you want to change something, you can change the text. Similarly, uh, we also send out some notification emails to the client. You can also change it here as well. All right. So that is how you can manage that. All right. Vishal, anything in the chat? I know that there's a whole long thread, but if there's anything in the chat, if that requires more clarification, I'll be happy to. And feel free, guys. Let me just make sure if I can set people to unmute themselves. Just a second. How do I do that? Sharing. All right. So I mean, in case if anyone wanted to unmute, I guess you guys should be able to unmute and ask questions as well. So, Vishal, is there anything in specific in the chat that you want me to cover?
No, that's nothing. Uh, as far as I know, I have covered everything. But
Okay,
just,
okay,
let me
okay,
just
fine.
check.
I'm also meanwhile just quickly checking. Just want to make sure not missing out anything as such.
Yeah, Catherine is asking for Zap to show the
Okay.
Zaps.
So Zap is something we are going like it's a quick suggestions. It's a quick ways to kind of quickly fixing things, right? So, okay, this is how I'm gonna explain. So, the way it's gonna work is that let's say if there are, let it load real quick. Oops. Okay, so what's gonna happen is that we actually figure out based on your vendor history that okay, in the past, this is how this particular vendor's transactions was being recorded, right? So if at all we find any problem with that, we're gonna start giving you suggestion that hey, for this vendor this is how it is posted to right now, but then we feel that it should go to this account and we kind of figure out this based on the history. So if you say that hey, this account is fine, you're going to click on accept. And then if you say that no, this is like not fine, it's like mills is the right account, you're going to click on dismiss and then it will be kind of removed from here, right? So Zap is more of a suggestion, and this is the first phase that we have actually worked on. Even before this release we introduce it, but our goal is to eventually give you guys more of these fixes often. So even without you literally going through the transaction detail and finding out the right account, I mean it's more like accept or dismiss kind of thing, right? So our goal would be to figure out the most accurate suggestions, give you guys on real time basis, so you can it's just a matter of then clicking on either accept or dismiss, right? So that's what the Zap is all about. Right now we just have a Zap which is just specifically for the account suggestion, but eventually it's gonna be for the class, even location or customer job, and then even it's gonna suggest you the name as well based on the memo as well, right? So that's right now just limited to the GL suggestions. Okay. So that's that. All right. Okay, client portal. Can you use the client portal as an email inbox? I Email inbox, I would not literally like that, Heloise. I think right now the way it's structured is more to communicate your questions with your client. Right, it's like you got some uncategorized transactions here on speed mode, or you got some otherwise, like you have a questions, or you wanted to request something on the bank statement or any other statement. Like, let's say if I had, there is a class I don't know, I can click on here, ask questions, what's a class, or I can choose from these frequent questions and ask, right? So right now I think it's mainly designed to ask address questions to the client, but eventually we only gonna evolve and we're gonna be adding more functionalities where even your clients can share information, even send some requests and things like that. So all right, I think Vishal, anything unanswered? If not, and guys, feel free in case you guys have an ability to unmute yourself and ask questions as such. So feel free. Otherwise, also feel free to reach out to us directly if you need any sort of help implementing it, training your staff, because we have been doing a lot of personalized training with our customers, which is in specific to their needs, right? So if you guys at all have any such needs, feel free to reach out. Yes, Catherine, I see your hands up. So
Hi. So I had to leave for the middle section of this, and you said you were going to record it. Where are we going to find that recording so that I can watch it?
yeah, so we will be definitely be emailing to all the people who could make it and who could not make it to this webinar. So
Okay.
most, yeah, you should get it in your inbox latest by tomorrow.
Okay. Wonderful. Thank you.
Yeah. All right, guys. I don't see any other questions remaining as such. But as I said, feel free to reach out to us either through email or this chat button, and we will be happy to work with you and answer any questions. All right, guys. So thank you very much. I hope this really helped. We will continue to have this kind of sessions, and then yes, we do have a pretty solid roadmap. So this was just the phase one that we have released it, and as we have started rolling out, we already started getting a lot of feature requests. So yeah, our goal would be to get those wishes come true as fast as we can. All right. So thank you guys. Thank you for your time, and we'll talk soon. Bye bye. Take care.